Mekoshimo, I killed them all. I can't believe what I've done. The weight of my actions is crushing me and I don't know how to move forward from this point. Every night the faces of those I've wronged haunt my dreams, turning them into endless nightmares. I tried to correct my mistakes and I wish I hadn't. The more I tried to fix things, the worse they became. It's like I was trapped in a web of my own making, each thread pulling me deeper into despair. I thought I could make amends, but now I see that some things are beyond redemption. What made things come to this? How did my life spiral out of control so quickly? I used to be a man of principles, someone who believed in justice and fairness, but now I can't even recognize the person I've become. The choices I've made have led me down a dark path, and I fear there's no way back. The psychiatrist. And then what? What happened after you realized the gravity of your actions? It's important to understand the sequence of events that led you here. Only by confronting your past can you hope to find a way to heal and move forward. Mekoshimo, I don't remember anything, it's all a blur. One moment I was trying to make things right and the next, everything fell apart. It's like my mind has blocked out the most painful memories, leaving me with only fragments of what happened. The psychiatrist, I think your condition is progressing now, especially since you've recognized the schizophrenia you have and started dealing with it. Acknowledging your mental health issues is a crucial step towards recovery. We need to work together to piece together your memories and understand the full picture. 4 years back. Mekoshimo. The way you made these fried eggs is wonderful. It's the little things like this that remind me of the good times. Your father always told me you were a natural-born cook. He had such high hopes for you and he was so proud of your talents. Akari, I'm glad you liked it. Cooking has always been my way of showing love and care. It's something that brings me joy, even in the darkest times. Their daughter comes out of her bedroom, looks at her father and says, Papa, good morning. Mekoshimo. Good morning, Sakura. Seeing your smile is the best part of my day. It gives me the strength to face whatever challenges come my way. Sakura, where's my birthday gift? She asked with a bit of anger and sadness. Her eyes were filled with a mix of hope and disappointment, and it broke Mekoshimo's heart to see her like that. Mekoshimo, don't worry, little one, I'll bring it with me when I come back from work, he said with a slight smile. I promise you, it will be something special, just like you. Mekoshimo looked at his watch and noticed he was late. Time seemed to slip away from him, and he knew he couldn't afford to be late again. Mekoshimo, oh, I'm late for work. I need to go, my dear. I don't want any more trouble with this manager. He's been on my case lately, and I can't risk losing my job. Akari, come back to us safely, my love, she said, smiling. We'll be waiting for you. Remember, no matter what happens, we love you. Sakura. Don't forget the gift, Daddy, she said loudly. Her voice was filled with a mix of excitement and urgency, and Mekoshimo couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. Mekoshimo kissed his wife and daughter on the forehead and hurried out. He felt a pang of guilt for leaving them, but he knew he had to go. His family depended on him, and he couldn't let them down. Mekoshimo arrived at the company and was sitting at his desk reviewing the company's finances. The numbers swam before his eyes and he struggled to focus. He noticed some strange numbers and some revenues that didn't match the expenses. It was as if someone had been tampering with the accounts, and he felt a growing sense of unease. Mekoshimo, come to my office, the manager said suddenly. His voice was cold and commanding, and Mekoshimo felt a chill run down his spine. Mekoshimo told himself, here we go again. Another confrontation, another round of accusations. I can't keep living like this. He went to the manager's office, and when he arrived, the manager was waiting for him, extremely angry. His face was red with fury, and his eyes blazed with anger. The manager, what are you doing? Just because you're the best at working with me doesn't mean you can come late and not do what I instruct you to do, he said furiously. You think you're indispensable, but you're not. Mekoshimo replied, why are you raising your voice? If I leave, no one else will be able to handle most of your work, and you won't find someone like me who tolerates a selfish boss like you, Mekoshimo said angrily. I've put up with your abuse for too long. The manager, how dare you raise your voice at me? You'll work extra hours today to learn how to speak respectfully to someone above your rank. His voice was dripping with contempt, and Mekoshimo felt his blood boil. Mekoshimo pulled out a chair, sat on it backward, and said with an evil smile, how about I submit my resignation? Let's see how you manage without me. The manager responded, fine, but don't think the company won't function without you. There are thousands of people who would love to be in your position. His words were meant to intimidate, but Mekoshimo wasn't fazed. Mekoshimo, and how about I expose the financial corruption going on in the company, or your tax evasion? I've seen the documents, and I know the truth. Or even, the employees whose salaries you cut based on false data that the company is financially collapsing when it's actually doing just fine. How do you think they'll react when they find out? Show me how you'll deal with the government, the police, and even your employees. Mekoshimo's voice was steady and confident, and he could see the fear in the manager's eyes. The manager pulled out a gun from the drawer and said, "I think you know too much that you shouldn't." His hand was shaking and Mekoshimo could see the desperation in his eyes. Mekoshimo stood up, raising his hand with his phone in it, and said with a smile, "And how will you deal with this recording? I've got everything on tape." He then pressed send and said, "Oops, I just sent it to 15 other devices in different locations. You're not getting out of this one. Oh, and 2 of them are inside the company listening right now. What do you think?" Mekoshimo's voice was calm and collected and he could see the panic in the manager's eyes. The manager was frozen in place, unable to react. His mind was racing, trying to figure out a way out of this mess. The manager, "Don't mess with me, you arrogant boy. You know you'll regret this." His voice was filled with venom, but Mekoshimo wasn't intimidated. Mekoshimo laughed mockingly. "Try it and it'll be your end. I've got nothing left to lose and I'm not afraid of you." Mekoshimo then left, but he stopped while holding the door and said to the manager, "Oh, and I'll be going home early. It's my daughter's birthday today, and I don't want to miss it." He then left. He felt a sense of relief wash over him as he walked away from the office. For the first time in a long time he felt like he was in control of his own destiny. He then left. The weight of the day's events was heavy on his shoulders, but he knew he had to keep moving forward. The manager sat at his desk, furious, saying, "Damn it, I shouldn't have hired him when he came begging for the job." He felt a sense of regret and anger, knowing that he had underestimated Mekoshimo. After work he goes to the manga store to get the latest chapter of his daughter's favorite manga. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to him. He climbs the stairs on his way to his apartment and then smells a foul odor like rusty iron, as if he were in the middle of a pile of dead bodies. His heart began to race and a sense of dread washed over him. He feels a slight dizziness, then runs to his apartment, opens the door and is shocked by the sight. His worst fears had come true, and he felt a wave of nausea wash over him. He sees his wife with half of her head blown off and stands there in shock, overwhelmed with fear and sorrow. The sight was too much to bear, and he felt his knees buckle beneath him. Then he hears breathing coming from his daughter's room. It was a faint, labored sound, and it filled him with a sense of urgency. He rushes to the room and finds his daughter with her limbs amputated, taking her last breaths. The sight was too much to bear, and he felt a wave of despair wash over him. Mekoshimo desperately tries to save her and stop the bleeding, but he knows it's too late. The life was slipping away from her and he felt a sense of helplessness wash over him. But then he feels something behind him, a sinister presence with a terrifying aura. He turns slowly, his heart pounding in his chest. He turns around to see a pale, beautiful girl with her clothes stained in blood, laughing in a frightening and hysterical way. Her eyes were filled with madness, and he felt a chill run down his spine. She suddenly goes silent for a moment, points her finger at Mekoshimo's head, and he feels intense pain before losing consciousness. The last thing he heard was her chilling laughter echoing in his ears. Wait for part 2. The story is far from over, and the truth is yet to be revealed. Stay tuned for the next chapter in Mekoshimo's dark and twisted tale.